All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 TV show in the United States and the rest of the world and even the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing the newest novel by Nelson DeMille, and it is called simply The Maze. This is book number 8 in his John Corey mystery series that's set in Manhattan, Long Island, and the surroundings of New York City. Book number 8. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I like cover art and graphic design. So this is pretty simple. I'm not that terribly thrilled with it, just because the title and the cover itself remind me a lot of James Dashner's The Maze Runner. It's got similar color scheme. It's got a maze on it. But, you know, that's the only criticism I could ever have of a Nelson DeMille novel. He's one of my favorite novelists of all time. In fact, I've got all of his, in my massive book collection, I got an entire shelf of just Nelson DeMille novels right there. I've got the entire James Corey collection. Now, like I said, this is book number 8. So Nelson DeMille, he's written a lot of standalone novels, but his best work is certainly the John Corey novels. Now, this starts out, well, it's about some murders that take place on Fire Island, which was, surprisingly enough, just a coincidence. I do a lot of stuff on Google Maps, just sometimes to kill time. I will just Google different parts of the world and click on maps and just read about it. And for some reason, I was looking at the southern coast of Long Island, and I noticed this long strip of land at the bottom of it that was just like a sliver of, and that was Fire Island. And so I was looking at all the stuff on Fire Island and learning everything I could about it, and just being like, what a weird place that I never knew of that even existed. And I've lived back in New York and Connecticut and places like that. I should have known about Fire Island. I've heard of it. I just was like, whatever. I thought it was just like a little island, but no, it's a weird island with it's like a vacation type spot. Very oddly shaped. Google it yourself. Anything. Just that was a coinky dink. Like literally 2 weeks before I picked up this novel. Now, the murder on Fire Island that happens in this book is actually based upon a real set of murders that were called the Giglo Beach murders. The Giglo Beach, it's G-I-G or G-I-L-G-O, the Gilgo Beach murders. I think that's it. That's based off of that, and but he calls them the Fire Island murders in this book. Now, this isn't the first time Nelson DeMille has based one of his John Corey mysteries off of real life events. I think one of them was about the plane that blew up over Long Island years and years ago, and then there's been a few others that were based off of real events. Anyway, who is John Corey? He's our main character in The Maze and all the John Corey novels. He is a former NYPD homicide detective. He's also a former anti-terrorist task force officer, and he's also a former diplomatic, he's something called the Diplomatic Surveillance Group. He worked for them, and now he's just unemployed. And he's sitting on his porch in Long Island, just chilling, enjoying the day, which was cool because that's exactly how Plum Island started, which was the first ever John Corey novel. So anyway, we kind of like come full circle. Anyway, it starts the same. Now, in the jacket copy, if you want to know a little about John Corey himself, other than what I've told you, he is like Jack Reacher and a lot of these other characters that they're the smartest dude in the room, sometimes the toughest dude in the room. Although John Corey doesn't go around like Jack Reacher or even Spencer in the Robert B. Parker books, where he's just like a muscle-bound badass. I mean, John Corey kind of knows his limitations. He's getting a little older, but he's still just a smartass. In fact, in the back of the book, the jacket copy, I love that they put this in here, and I don't know why they put this in here, but It says, The Maze features John Corey's politically incorrect humor, matched by his brilliant and unorthodox investigative skills, along with the shocking plot twists that are the trademark of best-selling author Nelson DeMille. I love that they actually advertised this as having politically incorrect humor in it, because if you saw my review of Plum Island, I think I specifically mentioned, and I mentioned this in a lot of my reviews of the early Spencer novels by Robert B. Parker, that the politically incorrect things, and even Robert Crayas did this in his Elvis Cole series. Some of the earlier novels are full of things that novelists just cannot put in books anymore. The fact that the publisher actually took the time to write that this was full of politically incorrect stuff tickled me silly. I don't know why, it just did. But anyway, let's talk about this mystery rather than just kind of, because I've babbled on and on nonsensically for most of this review. So let me just read the jacket copy. Nelson DeMille is one of my favorite writers of all time. His writing is just on point. It seems effortless. The mysteries are cool. John Corey is a cool mother dude, and I love reading these mysteries. But let's get into the plot of this one. The Maze finds John Corey on having survived a bunch of law enforcement roles over his career and different romantic relationships. He is wiser and more sarcastic than ever. Corey is restless and looking for action, so when his former lover, Detective Beth Penrose, appears with a job offer, Corey has to once again make some decisions about his career and about reuniting with Beth, his old flame. Inspired by and based on actual, still unsolved Gigolo Beach murders, The Maze takes the reader on a dangerous hunt for an apparent serial killer who has murdered nine, and maybe more, sex workers and hidden their bodies in the thick undergrowth on a lonely stretch of beach. As Corey digs deeper into the case, he comes to suspect that the failure of the local police to solve the sensational mystery may not be a result of their incompetence. It may be something else. Something far more sinister. Yeah, what are the police up to in this book? Who's the serial killer? Well, those are the things that Corey investigates, and he investigates them in an entertaining fashion. Always on top of his game with the sarcasm and wit. That's why I love John Corey, for all of his politically incorrect sensitivities. Makes me laugh. And there's a lot of action. I mean, these John Corey books, they are bloody, brutal, grim stories. I mean, this one is no different than the previous 7 that I've read. Great action. Not going to talk too much more about it. Again, solid entry into the Nelson DeMille canon of books. And I give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. The only thing that made it not a 10 out of 10 is most of the John Corey novels are a little longer than this. This one is a little short. It's about 400 pages. Maybe that's about the same as the others. Anyway, that's my review of The Maze.